Hi, everyone, and welcome back today. I'm so excited to introduce you today to Brandon Grill. Today, we're going to be talking about all things SEO and Google Ads. So, if you're a health and wellness professional, therapist, coach, senior care provider, and you have been wondering how to get your website, your business, your practice more easily found on Google or search, you definitely want to stay tuned and listen to all the wonderful things that Brandon has to share. So, welcome, Brandon.
Hey, Hope. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I'm so glad you could be here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what were you doing before this work, and kind of what led you to focus on helping mental health professionals with their marketing?
It's funny to think about because I don't think about it often. But before I was working in marketing, I was actually a pool boy. I
Oh,
was like scrubbing pools and like netting pools and playing with chemicals and stuff like that as I was first building my marketing business. So, how I got into marketing for mental health, kind of like that wounded healer stuff. I don't consider myself that way anymore. I feel like I'm in a really good spot, but entering into it, it's like I wanted to learn more about mental health. I knew I didn't want to be a therapist per se. I've always had like a lifelong interest in mental health personally. And then I've always had a passion and sort of a knack for writing. So I entered into marketing from like a writing website pages perspective. And then from there, it kind of just fans out to like SEO, getting websites to get found. And then most recently in the last year, adding Google Ads.
wonderful. Tell us a little bit about the clients that you currently work with and then the service that you offer to them. And then we'll dive into all the things we want to talk about.
Yeah. So it honestly, it's constantly changing as I like change and grow. And so at the start, it was kind of like any and every mental health professional. What I've found is I really enjoy a few certain types of mental health professionals. So like EMDR therapists, IFS therapists, sex therapists, like narcissistic abuse therapists. So I really kind of like niche stuff. I don't always enjoy just like, anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism. They're not really the things that I have a deep interest in currently, which has changed. Like in the past, I was very interested in those. I do have social anxiety myself. Hopefully, you can't tell, but I love working with therapists who specialize in that as well. And then a whole nother field is psychedelics. So I just absolutely love it. I'm very passionate about it. I'm reading a book about Ibogaine right now. Like it's just an amazing tool for like healing addiction, healing emotional trauma, healing dynamics that our conscious mind is too on guard against us even realizing. So like a really impactful tool. And I love working with all types of like psychedelic treatment centers. So yeah, that's more of like a recent passion, but like one that is so ripe at this moment.
Yes, that is definitely, I'm not gonna say growing in popularity because
Mhm.
it's been around, but I see more being published and spoken about. It's becoming more people more aware and more open. To
Yeah.
so do you work with individual practices, group
Mhm.
practices, treatment centers?
Yeah. Yeah. And for, group practices, it's interesting because I'll dip a little bit into Google Ads for a second. A solo therapist can run Google Ads very profitably because they take home the full like session fee. What I've found is that certain practices, like medium-sized practices, aren't well situated to benefit as much. They can still benefit, but since there's a fee split, it could take more sessions to recoup the cost of, Google Ads. So, but I recommend it and I try to find a way for all of my clients if it makes sense. It also depends on like the market, the competition, the specific service, their fee split if it's for like a clinician in their practice. And then SEO is like the long term, like really inexpensive long term, but it does take a while to sort of snowball and accumulate those benefits.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So an important thing for any professional once they have a website is getting found. And there's
Yeah.
two approaches. Organic way and then the paid way.
Mhm.
So that's where exactly what you're talking about comes in. You've got your SEO and then
Mhm.
your Google Ads. So let's start with talking about SEO because that's something everyone can do without spending any extra money.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what they need to know, like exactly what is SEO and like where and how do therapists use SEO and apply
Mhm.
SEO? And what
Yeah.
SEO stand for?
Yeah. Oh, man, there's so many ways I could approach it. SEO stands for search engine optimization. Just a few examples of search engines are Google, Bing, Safari, any like web browser that uses a specific like tool for discovering websites. Most commonly it's Google. I think like 93% are Google of searches nowadays. So why are we optimizing for the search engine? Basically, what we're doing is we're giving the search engine the information it needs to understand what our website is about. And if we do that effectively, these search engines will start recommending our website to people searching for therapy services. Just a quick example is, and there's so many factors. There's like over 200 factors. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. I'll definitely simplify it, but there's so much to like consider. And I really recommend hiring somebody who does it for a living. But with that said, let's break it down. Search engine optimization has a few different buckets. So one is like the technical health of a website. Fast websites with no broken links and, good site architecture are going to rank better than websites that don't. Sites with really well-written content and yeah, just like really good content, well-designed, visually pleasing content are going to rank better than websites that don't have that. And then lastly, like all other things being equal, websites that get more links from other websites called backlinks, they're going to do better than websites that don't have those trust signals. So, and then there's a fourth so those are three categories, right? Technical content and keywords kind of come into content. Maybe we could cover that because people are always like curious about it. And then backlinks. So those are sort of the three key buckets. I think there's also a fourth one, which is user experience. So we want to make sure people have a really good experience on the website. And Google can't see this maybe directly, but indirectly they can. If people land on the website and they spend a lot of time on it, that tells Google like, hey, this is a good website, and they kind of benchmark that against other websites. And then there's also the conversion element. A really nice, well-designed website just makes everything else easier. People are going to sign up more readily if we're conveying like the right, like if we're conveying the information in an appropriate layout, like just like a logical narrative flow. It's going to do a lot better than if we don't do that. If the color contrast is like too low and like say we're putting pink next to purple, things just don't stand out. People don't know where to focus their eyes, which I know you know this. How you can probably talk for an hour about it. So I would say that's like the fourth category is user experience. And there's a lot of ways we could like work on that. I would say to summarize it just like very briefly for this conversation, always include a call to action, like a schedule your free consultation now button, probably at the end of every section or at the very least at the every 1.5 scrolls, like every 1.5 page scrolls. Make sure your contact forms work. Make sure all of your buttons on your website work. Use beautiful images. If you could get images from like a brand photographer rather than like a regular photographer, those are going to do super well. And also you're going to own those images. So there's no copyright, like anything weird happening there. I just said a whole bunch. I'm sure there's probably like some questions or anything else that I should like dive deeper into.
Yes, sure. I'm glad you addressed that when it comes to search, there's so many ranking factors and things that we don't have control over. But the key things that we do have control over when it comes to SEO for our website, and it is always changing, it is always
Mhm.
but some fundamental things are exactly what you covered, user experience. I mean, that is something that Google is running in the background, and you can see that in your own analytics. Your website analytics is the bounce rate, like, are people
Yeah.
landing on your website and then bouncing in 1 or 2 seconds? Google's like, "Well, why would we keep serving up this website when people don't stay versus another website where they're on there for, you know, 45 seconds or 2 minutes?"
Yeah.
That is, if someone can quickly find what they need on their home page and, they leave in 30 seconds, the job is done. Usually
Yeah.
that there's been an interaction, like they clicked on that link, to skip
Mm.
consult, which is the whole point of having your own website.
Yeah.
You want that website to be able to book clients for you or consults for you. And then when people have blog posts,
Mhm.
blogging is really the next level for it, and keeping people on your website longer, but also helping people find you through those keywords. So let's talk a little bit about keywords, because it's important for people to understand what keywords are and how that works with SEO. And of course, the keywords are on their website in different
Mhm.
places. So let's talk about how keywords and SEO work together.
Yeah. So keywords are so important. It's basically how so let me back up. A keyword is something that people search for in just say Google, for example, when they're looking for a specific service or a specific piece of information. So just a few examples, and let's use like OCD therapy as an example. If people are ready to book that service, they're going to target high intent keywords. Related to OCD therapy, the keyword will be OCD therapy, OCD therapist, OCD therapy near me. Near me terms are gold for this. And it could also be, OCD therapy Houston, OCD therapy New York, NYC. When people tie the service to the location, that implies very strongly that they are ready to book a service, which is where your service pages come in. We want to use these high intent keywords on the service pages. And these are the first pages any website should make, whether it's, a marketing agency like myself or a therapy practice or a lawyer, because these are the pages that convert site visitors into paying clients. That's the whole point is we want to fill caseloads. We want to have the community impact that we, crave and that we want to enjoy. And we want to make a good living. So any marketing should pay for itself at the end of the day. So we start with those high intent keywords, and there's only so many that are going to be relevant to any specific therapy practice. Usually I recommend like 8 to 10 service pages per practice. And if most practices only did that and then focused on supporting content, they would be more than full. So, okay, service pages down. Then let's look at what types of content can we produce to draw more traffic to those pages such that we get more clients. And there's a lot of other purposes of content. I'll just say like real quick, content can get leads on its own. It can get traffic on its own, and it can get links from other websites on its own. So as long as it accomplishes one of those goals, then I would say it's a good piece of content to produce. And we'll look at a few examples of the content that I don't recommend in just a second. So once we have the service page, keywords, and we've written all that content, published it to the website, then we want to start creating what is called middle of funnel content. So this is content for people who are sort of like still on the fence. Maybe they're weighing their options, they're weighing different modalities, they're still researching their symptoms and things like that. So just for example, common keywords in this stage are called or include best, versus, cost, price, patient, like people really figuring out like, is this right for me? So we could say, best OCD therapist in Austin, Texas. And there still is an ethical way to write that. We never want to put anybody down. But let's say we're a practice with multiple OCD therapists. We could say, oh, Jennifer is the best if you're this type of client. Sandra is the best therapist if you're this type of client, and Jesse's the best OCD therapist if you're this type of client. That way we get found for that keyword, which is really valuable. And we're building our team members up rather than putting anybody down. We could also do, what is the cost of OCD therapy in Austin? That's a really good piece of content because it's localized. if somebody in Austin looking for OCD therapy finds that, it's going to speak so well to them. So targeting not just the appropriate keyword, which we could get from keyword research tools, but modifying it so that we're also tying it to the location. That is a strong move. It's kind of, feeding two birds with one fruit, as my roommate likes to say. And okay, so, and there's so much content we could do just in that. And honestly, I don't think any therapy practice that isn't like VC funded needs to go further than that. If they just did that well, SEO could really fill many caseloads, like not just one, but like 10 plus. So now let's talk about what type of content to avoid. So we've covered the bottom of funnel content. That's like the service pages, really high intent stuff, take people from a site visitor to somebody inquiring about therapy, if not booking session. Then above that, we have the middle of funnel content for people who just need a little bit more information. They're trying to figure out like their objections, costs, things like that. Above that is top of funnel content. So this would be like, what is therapy? What is OCD therapy? How does therapy work? And I think it's somewhat enticing because we see big names like, Grow Therapy, Alma, Headspace, Talkspace covering content like that. And it's like, oh, I should like do that. And I think there's two really strong reasons not to do that. I just said one of them. All of the big, huge, like $1 billion budget brands are covering these topics. So it's very competitive. Not really something that a therapy practice is going to rank for. Even with like exceptional writing and all that, it's just very improbable. The other thing is that let's say we did rank number one for like what is OCD therapy, that's still too early in the like this process for people to book a session. So somebody typing what is OCD therapy, they're still a little bit away from booking that session. They need to learn a little bit more, figure out what their objections are, figure out the cost, figure out if they could actually do it and afford it, figure out if insurance covers it, things like that. So I really don't recommend any of my clients. I recommend against it, that like top of funnel content. So yeah, that was a whole lot.
Yeah, no, that was great. And you mentioned something I don't think I've ever really discussed before, and that is the funnel. So
Yeah.
let's just briefly explain, like to a 5-year-old, like they say, what is marketing funnel that we're talking about, and top, middle, and bottom of funnel, so that um those watching or listening can really visualize, because most therapists have never had a marketing class. When we go to grad school, there's no course or not even an hour on marketing or business. So these are concepts that are new but make so much sense
Hmm.
once someone explains. I mean, this marketing funnel or client journey is key to marketing in every industry.
Yeah.
I like the simplified version of it, just top, middle, and bottom. So let's explain what that is. So top of funnel and bottom of funnel. So the top of the funnel is wide. It says like casting like a wide net, but you're still wanting to fill your funnel with people who are potentially interested in your services. And ultimately at the bottom, these are the people becoming clients. So we're
Hmm.
always going to have more people who may be curious or wanting to learn more about our services. They're not necessarily ready to become a
Hmm.
client right now. Bottom of the funnel, I'm ready now. We have to keep our funnel open. We never want to turn our funnel off. So the activities that we do to get people sort of in our funnel, and then once they're in there, the ones that do come in there, they don't fall away by the wayside. We have middle of the funnel activities to kind of keep them engaged and learning more about us and us building up our trust. And then and that kind of helps them filter themselves in or out.
Yeah.
They're a good fit for them. And the ones that we've done a good job with this and they realize what she or he is the right fit for me, those are the ones that come to the bottom of the funnel that are like ready to make a decision to pick up the phone and call or to schedule. So let's just read real quickly. Top of the funnel content.
That would be like, what is therapy? Oh man. It would be like a head term, like just somebody typing obsessive compulsive disorder. It would be like it's so vague, right? It's like, what are they actually trying to learn? Well, they're just trying to get a broad overview, and that's a much different intent. In SEO, we call it intent. Much different intent from somebody searching like OCD or like ERP for OCD. They're really trying to learn about a specific modality and if it could help them. And then, so that would be middle of funnel, a different intent, like a comparison or like an education intent.
Very more, it's like really more refined.
Exactly. Yeah. And another example of like top of funnel content is like define OCD. Like if people are searching for definitions or meaning, it's, they're still a long ways away from booking that consultation. And then when we go from top to middle to bottom, the bottom of funnel is like a very specific, implies like actionable intent keyword. So if somebody's searching, relationship therapist on Long Island, they're looking for a relationship therapist on Long Island. Like they want to start therapy. So it's really important to understand the funnel because I think one trap is going for those top of funnel things, like trying to be the person who educates people about therapy, what it is, how it works. That's important. But honestly, other websites do a great job of that. We can let them handle that. And then if we just come in on like the middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, where people are actually like considering a specific provider or a specific practice or a specific modality, and then converting them from a visitor to a consultee, that's where the money's to be made with like mental health SEO and honestly SEO for any business. Like a large scale like SEO campaign, like covering every single topic in an industry could take 5 years. Like could literally be like fresh content for 5 years. But we don't want to do that. We need clients like as soon as we can, right? Ideally. So that's why we focus on the service pages and then the middle funnel content to kind of promote that.
I love that strategy because you're right with all the venture capitalists, the Lord's mental health providers now. If you Google anything, they will come up first.
Mm.
They're writing articles on anything general that you can imagine. So if someone is searching for information on a topic related to mental health, a blog article is going to come up. And just to clarify, when we're talking about content, we're talking about blog articles on your website. It's an
Yeah.
article on your website once you have a website.
Mm.
Well, SEO on your website happens on each of your individual website pages.
Mm.
And you can grow your SEO
Mm.
through that blog content because adding more keywords and content to your website. And so I love that strategy of having more middle and bottom of the funnel content. Like
Mm. Mhm.
all the general stuff. Sometimes it's the easiest thing to write about.
Yeah.
If that information is already being shared and you're never going to rank for it because you can never compete against
Yeah.
domain authority and amount of content. That's another thing that goes into your SEO ranking factors is the amount of content you had, how long you've had a presence, and a new practice can't compete with that. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you shared that. That's really good. And that's sort of the beauty of working with someone who is a content copywriter. You do it day in and day out, and you understand all those things. And so even though someone may be paying for a service, they're going to get ahead much further because
Yes.
they won't have that learning curve. They can just jump straight into what works. So thanks for sharing all that with us related to SEO. Let's now hop into Google Ads because you see like a lot of times on a lot of Facebook discussion groups for therapists, people are asked about Google Ads, and some people will, recommend an agency that they've been working with that they've been really successful. And I'll see other therapists say, "Oh, I do my own." And the ones that say I do my own are the ones that always make me nervous.
Yeah, me too.
There's so that goes into it. So let's start with exactly like what are Google Ads and how are they different from SEO?
Yeah. So interestingly, Google Ads and organic SEO, they show up in the same search engine results. So if somebody types in ADHD therapist Ann Arbor, the first usually four things that we're going to see are advertisements. That means somebody paid to be there. They basically paid to skip the line. And then if we scroll past those, then we have the organic SEO results. This is like websites who've kind of earned their position through, good quality writing, good visuals, and a website that shows topical authority. So Google Ads are so good for quickly filling a practice because of that, like, skip the line effect. Usually people don't really look at all the results before they choose. They just choose the first one on their screen. So that's why they're so important. And then, yeah, it's basically pay to play. Like, whatever the budget is, whether it's 400 to, $3,000 a month plus, we're paying for our page to be clicked on more, with the idea that if a certain amount of people click on it, and then a certain amount of those people are going to fill out the form, and then a certain amount of form fillers are going to become new clients. So it's a really effective way to fill a caseload. Compared to SEO, it does cost more, because it's like the short term get clients now channel. SEO is like the long term build like a machine that gets you clients like medium and long term and really long term, like up to years later. So yeah, that's kind of the difference.
Yeah. And so one thing too, like SEO is a long game, but
Mhm.
it has sort of like compound interest. So it does
Yeah.
for you,
Mhm.
over the long haul and years later. Google Ads work now as long as you keep them, but once you stop, that's gone. So both are important,
Yeah.
uh, so but if you are a new practice and wanting to fill that your caseload faster, having Google Ads in place for sure, but you never want to stop SEO. You always want to be doing SEO
Yeah.
in the background as well in the event that you do have to turn off Google Ads at some point in time. You
Mhm.
said something that touches on why I said I get nervous when people say they're doing their own Google Ads.
Mhm.
And that is, you said when they click on the Google ad, there's a form for them to fill out. Talk about why it's so important for
Mhm.
Google Ad to be connected to a landing page, a form or something versus just sending people to your homepage, which is
Yeah.
a mistake that I see people do. They do a Google, because Google does a good job of sending any business owner with a website, you know, you know, $500 credit in Google Ads, and they'll even give you a little mod Google ad, and you just do that.
Yeah.
You just send them to your homepage versus a Google ad set up by an ad agency that has created a landing page
Yeah.
that different functions. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, at the very least, we want to send people to a highly specific page. If we think about, oh, I love this example. So, say we're at like a party and somebody says, "Hey, where are all the moms in here?" It's like a few people kind of hear that, right? And they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm a mom." And then if somebody says, like, "Hey, where's all the moms with kids like 5 to 7 in here?" And it's like a few moms raise their hand. And then let's say somebody comes in and they're like, "Sarah," all the women named Sarah like turned their head, right? So it's the same thing. Like, we want to give people the very specific thing that they're looking for, because that's what's really going to get their attention. If they're searching for self-esteem therapy in Las Vegas, and then we just show them like a general talk therapy page, it's not going to speak to them. And it's also going to make the ads harder, but that's like even before they get to that point. But just for the person actually seeing the page, we want to make sure that it's speaking directly to them and their concerns and not like in general. That's just because it's going to convert better. Like, the more specific we are, the more people will feel talked to. And then they're going to fill out the contact form. They're going to feel like this is the right practice for me. This is exactly what I am looking for. And it's just going to make things much more effective. The opposite of that is, as you were saying, like sending people to a homepage or like just any page that is more general. It's not going to speak to people as much unless it's like a one specialty practice, then it might work. But still, I would recommend a landing page. And for anybody not in marketing, a landing page is the page that people land on after they click the ad. And there's some best practices. Usually the less options we give people on the page, the better. So in a lot of cases, the best options that we could give them is fill out our contact form or don't. and that's really going to increase the amount of people who do, because there's only one option they could view. Contrast that with a page where it's like, hey, fill out our contact form or read this other page or check out this blog or look at what we did last summer. Or like, there's all these things that we could lose conversions and cause like leaks out of our funnel. Right. So yeah, I have had some clients who really want to run ads to their website, and there are effective ways to do it. I still prefer landing pages, but if people like are really proud of their website, we could set up that conversion tracking so that their SEO traffic is separate from their ads traffic, and we could track closely like how well are the ads working. Yeah. Oh, let me pause there. Anything else that I should dive into?
Well, one thing you were mentioning when you were talking about the difference between a landing page and a website,
Hmm.
some people, if set up correctly, you can use your website. You can create that landing page on your website. Something that a landing page has that a regular website page doesn't have is all the menu options at the top.
Yeah.
Well, as you were saying, it's they don't get to like go down rabbit trail. So the
Yeah.
landing page is when they click on that ad, let's say they were looking for, let's say, the marriage and family counseling for couples without children, let's say. But
Yeah.
they may provide lots of other services. They may work with individuals. They may work with they may do family therapy, but they're looking for something specific. So if you send them to the homepage, well, they're going to see all these other things: individual counseling, family counseling, group therapy,
Yeah.
in addition to the couples counseling. So
Yeah.
that ad, if you're wanting to promote your services for couples counseling, when they click on it, it goes to a page that only
Yeah.
couples counseling. You don't
Mm.
your home, about services, frequently asked questions, all that's gone. Your footer's gone with all the other like phone
Mhm.
numbers. So as Brandon was saying, it just has a bit of information. It's not involved in detailed as your website. It's just really, really focused, addresses why they're there, to get in touch, schedule appointment, click visit.
Mhm.
So in other words, now they have just a quick way to get in touch with you and schedule an appointment, or for you to back in touch with them versus
Mhm.
dancing all around your website.
No.
Yeah. The other thing too that's great about it is sometimes they may land on your website, they find you organically, people get interrupted. And sometimes they don't even remember, like, the phone rings or they have something comes up and they have to step away from their phone or their website. They don't remember where they left off. They may not even remember the name. They'll just go back and search again later. But here's your opportunity. You worked so hard and they found you. You don't want to lose them. You want them to connect with you
Yeah.
quick way, and then now you can quickly follow up.
Yeah.
That's another reason it's important. I always tell my clients
Mhm.
a newsletter subscription or a lead magnet on their website, because people may not be able to spend a lot of time, and it's very easy for people to forget about you. They get interrupted. But if you offer something that's, can provide them with a quick benefit or solution to a problem in exchange for their email address,
Mhm.
now you can start a relationship with them through
Yeah.
your marketing emails and things that you do, and they will now remember you. You can build a relationship. But yes, so please, please, if you're thinking about doing Google Ads, I highly encourage people to work with a Google ad agency who understands all these factors.
Okay.
Because one reason people are hesitant to do it is the
Mhm.
doubt, is it going to be worth the money? I'm scared it's not going to be worth the money. Well, it is definitely worth the money when done
Yeah.
properly. And having a landing page for your ad is, any agency tells you you don't need one, s- say thanks, no thanks, and
Yeah.
and move on to the next one, because I've seen a lot of people waste money that
Yeah.
way.
I'll tell you one horror story, Hope. I consulted with a sex therapist in Oregon, and on his website and his ads, like if you total it all together, he spent $9,000 and didn't get any clients.
Oh my
Like 9,000. Yeah. So let's say like half and half, right? He probably spent 4,500 just on Google ads. And I like when we did our consultation, I was reviewing his search terms report, which is like, what are people searching for when they click on his ad that's costing him, both of his arms and both of his legs. And it's like the ads guy was not like marking, he was not excluding things that just were unrelated. Like it's like he offers sex therapy, right? Why is he showing up for massage therapy and physical therapy and occupational
Oh,
therapy and like
yes.
and Reiki and yoga? And it's like, so there's a lot of optimization that goes into an account, not just setting it up correctly, but then like staying on top of it and like filtering results, excluding things, changing things. I was honestly, I was angry. Like and he could feel it. Like the guy who I did the consultation with, he's like, wow, I could tell you're like really passionate and fired up. Cause I was like, no therapist should spend that much and get zero clients.
Mm.
At the very least, they should have like 10 to 20 clients, depending on their location. But um there was another thing I wanted to mention. Oh, I love the counterintuitive nature of ads because people like I've seen this a lot. People will think, oh, well, like I really spent a lot of money on my website and it's beautiful and I want people to go on my website. And it's like, I get that sentiment, but if that lowers the amount of people who actually contact us, then it's not as effective, right? So that's worth testing. At the very least, it's worth testing. Like, do ads perform better when sending people to the live website, like say the SEO service page for couples therapy, versus a landing page that doesn't link to that website? Which one performs better? And it's always worth testing because things change, markets change, marketing changes, clients change, like things like that. But I would probably assume the opposite, but I wouldn't assume that running ads directly to the website is going to be better than running ads to a dedicated landing page.
Yes. Testing it important, and there in marketing, it's sort of, like a art and a science as they and and that's what's so hard because business owners want results now and they don't want to waste money. But it is important to understand when it comes to marketing, you're dealing with human nature and you're
Yeah.
dealing with people, and people are different. It's not a hard science. So you do have to test things and see what your potential clients respond to. And what
Mhm.
works for one practice is not going to be exactly the same as another. So just duplicating what another, you can duplicate exactly what another practice is doing, and you may not get the same results. And there's so many different factors that go into that. So testing is important. So if someone wanted to try Google Ads to see it's going to be effective for them, like what's the minimum amount of time that you recommend that they try Google Ads before deciding? And of course, like with anything with your marketing, you're always looking at your analytics and tweaking as you go, changing the keywords, because when you do Google Ads, you list the words, the
Yeah.
keywords that you want to be your site to be served up for when those words are entered. So obviously that other guy was not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
Put everything therapy. He probably just put the word therapy.
Literally.
So he didn't exclude anything. So like what amount of time
Yeah.
should someone test it to see if it's
Mhm.
worked for them?
Yeah. So the data depends both on time and on budget. So somebody who's spending $1,000 a month is going to get a lot more data and they could optimize much quicker than somebody spending like $400 a month. And that's like the absolute minimum I would recommend for like a solo therapist is $400 per month. Ideally, much more than that. So as that data comes in, we want to optimize by eliminating keywords that don't convert or that are just irrelevant to the service. Sometimes a keyword is relevant to a different service on at the practice, but not that specific service that we're advertising for. So we want to exclude that, temporarily. Well, sorry, the question was how long should somebody wait before
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Let's say someone is working with someone and they're not getting the results that they want. Like,
yeah,
how long does they really should be spending money with that person. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I would say maximum 3 months. I would never go beyond 3 months of not getting results. And my Google Ads agency not doing something different to change things
Yeah.
because they should be getting you results.
Yeah. I would say that 2 to 3 month marks. Like
Yeah.
there's really, the first month is largely testing. Like, some of the best ads people in the world, they say we should feel comfortable throwing away the first month of budget,
Okay.
just literally just to get data to make months 2, 3, and beyond better. Of course, we still want to get results, but that's just like a good way to anchor our mind that this does take testing, it does take data, and it does take time. But if they can't get, multiple clients at it, depending on budget as well, but if they can't get you multiple new clients by the end of month 2, I would say that's when like I'm starting to feel like an orange flag. And then at the end of 3 months, it's like, okay, it's time to close that off. Yeah. Yeah.
They get
And real quick, how one question they could ask anybody who they're considering working with is, have you spent your own money running ads? Because that's really like a great way to learn. And it's like if they haven't done that, they might not have enough skin in the game or enough like of those like hard won lessons to really do a good job.
That's a great question, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a question I wouldn't have thought of because but, it makes sense, like, as a website designer, why would I not have my own website,
Mm.
As
Yeah.
a Google ad agency, why would you not run Google ad? No, you're not that
Right.
be starting out to get started and see what that experience is like, and you learn on your own dime instead of other,
Yeah.
you know?
And I'll be transparent. I'm kind of late to that game, but last Monday I started my own ads, and I'm at 1,000 votes per month on ad spend. So like I have skin in the game. Already some good like indicators that it's working. But even before this last week, I feel like I was good, but just turning my own ads on, I feel like it just like unlocked something in my brain where it's like, oh my god, this is like, I love it.
That's exciting. And you get to see what you do in action benefiting, your own business as well.
Yeah.
So before we start to wrap up, something that is important to all mental health therapists when it comes to anything advertising is being aware of client confidentiality and HIPAA.
Mhm.
Are there anything that therapists need to be aware of regarding HIPAA when it comes to Google Ads?
Yeah. Yeah, so we don't want to collect any personalized health information. And so there are, softwares out there that protect privacy, like ours privacy is recently growing like really quickly. And they offer like a full suite, whatever website page or whatever third party hosted landing page that we're running ads to, ours privacy can help. And then, Therapy Flow, my acquaintance Josh Brummel, who's the co-founder, they use high level, but like a version, like they call it a white labeled in marketing. It's basically the high level software, but under the name of his business, Therapy Flow. They have a white labeled version of high level, and it comes with an inbuilt HIPAA compliant contact form. So any therapist hosting their website or their landing page on Therapy Flow automatically HIPAA compliant. And then another thing is that we could just sidestep it altogether by just asking for name, phone, email, and not even leaving space for a message. Because if somebody leaves a message, that could include some PHI. That's like the cheap way or like the inexpensive way. It's also not the best way because sometimes we want that information because it makes follow up easier and just like scheduling and things like that. But yeah, that's like the starter kit is what I would say.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that there are some options because that's something when someone is wanting to do Google Ads themselves and maybe don't have access to that type of software. They don't even
Yeah.
know about it. It is important to be mindful if you're using any type of contact form.
Hmm.
uh, If it's not by nature and default contact forms on websites are not, uh,
Yeah.
not HIPAA compliant or secure. You don't want to provide opportunity for people to give you PHI
Yeah. Yeah.
or intentionally.
And real quick, one other thing is like have your marketing person sign a BAA. Like they need to have that legal protection and the practice owner needs that from them. Like they're at some point they're going to see like a contact form submission. And if they see any PHI, it's better to have that BAA signed than not. So quick word of advice.
Yeah, I'm so glad you suggested that.
Yeah.
That is great. Honestly, as a therapist or mental health practice owner, that is your responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
Is going to have access to your client's information. You need to have a BAA agreement in place. So you should
Yeah.
always asking about that. And if they say, "What is that?" then you already know that's not the right
Yeah.
fit for you. They should definitely know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
So okay, yeah. Um, so in wrapping up, is there anything we didn't talk about that you think our listeners or
Mm.
viewers need to know about that we didn't?
Yeah. I was going to say it at the top, and it kind of pushes my work back a step, but I think it's important having a really, and I'm not just saying this because this is your work, but having a really beautiful, fast, like functional website, number one, with a branded photography suite, like that makes everything so much easier. So like it's really high leverage to do that. And then SEO gets easier. And then even ads, even if they're not hosted on the website, a good designer could easily duplicate the same branding onto a landing page. Just makes everything so much easier. So there's that. And then the other thing, just like all success in life, just be consistent and don't stop. Like you will get there. That's one thing I've learned like the hard way. And it's just so true. Like any business goes through ups and downs, and sometimes the downs are like a really hard swing. Just don't give up. There's a lesson there, and that lesson is going to help you reach the next stage when you pick yourself back up. So,
Thank you for sharing that. And you're right, branding is so important. In fact, I recently had an interview with a brand photographer.
was it Laura?
Yes, with Laura.
I just did my photo shoot with her last Monday. Then
Exciting.
it was it was great. I'm so looking forward to the pictures, and they're just going to be. I think if they last me 3 years, they are like way worth the money, and they'll
Absolutely.
probably last me longer than that.
Absolutely, yes. But I'm glad that you mentioned that having professional brand photography that is unique and personal to you, not stock photo, using that branding on your landing page. All of your marketing needs to be consistent and cohesive because even though someone may click on your Google ad and fill out your form, after you hit submit, there's nothing to say that they're not just going to go back and look for your web
Yeah,
and want to read more in the
yeah,
while they're waiting. And so if they just saw a landing page or form and now when they go to your website, it looks like the exact same business,
yeah,
colors, imagery, fonts, and whatnot, trust is established.
yeah,
If they go from, a landing page that had, it was just different colors than your own website, as soon as they see your website, they start thinking, wait, is that the same
mm,
person or who was that or what form did I click? Who's my information going to? That's
yeah,
an I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah.
Okay, so I always like to close with this one question. As a
Mhm.
business owner, because all of my clients and followers are business owners, and you are a business owner.
Yes, I am.
Business owner, what's like one or two valuable lessons you've learned as a business owner, or maybe some words of wisdom that you love sharing with fellow professionals, kind of just stuck out on their journey in marketing and building a
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, it's definitely in the category of invest in yourself. And for a long time, I would consider, should I get this new SEO tool? I think it'll help me like do a better job, but maybe I could go without it. Or it could be like a content tool or like an ads tool or a book or a template pack or like just anything. And 100% of the time, when I just buy that thing, it's like, oh my God, this saves me so much time and like the output is better. And it's just like just invest in yourself and your business. And that includes conferences. Like I met the biggest client of my business ever last year at a conference. And I was like, oh, should I go? Like, I don't want to fly. And like, it's just like every time we just suck it up or even just do it excitedly. But like, if we're like worried about it, it's like it pays off in spades. So it's just a lesson. Like, just don't even think about it. Just buy it, you know?
Well, you the magic word, invest. And when you invest in something that's a good investment, there's always a return on that investment.
Yeah.
Whether
It's
it's
never failed me.
yeah, that's wonderful. So, what is the best way for listeners or viewers to get in touch with you, to follow what you're doing, and then also if they want to connect with you and just maybe some SEO services or
Yeah. So bgcopywriter.com. That's my website. And it's gonna go through a revamp after I get those photos from Bora, but it's still a great place to learn about me. People say they love the about page. It kind of details some of like cool things I've done, like worked as a pool boy, traveled through Central America, like been on meditation retreats and things like that. Kind of like my connection to mental health. It's still very like clunky looking because I'm not a designer and I did do it myself. And then the other best way is if you're on LinkedIn, feel free to add me, Brandon Grill. And that's also a good place to see some posts. Every once in a while, I post, and there's some that have resonated like very deeply. Like I read a blog for Heard about imposter syndrome among therapists, and just like hundreds of therapists were loving it. So that's a great place to follow me, but mostly my website if you want to inquire about services.
wonderful. And I'll put all of your contact information in the description, um,
Thank you.
the show notes, so people can easily find that. Well, thank you so much. And I
Thank
know that
you.
very valuable and people learned a lot. I even picked up some new nuggets along the way. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me on.